Hello viewers, welcome to our daily bulletin. Following are the headlines as usual.
Vietnam elects first female parliament speaker. Vietnam and the US seek ways to enhance bilateral partnership. Da Nang tops Provincial Competitiveness Index again.
Vice Chairwoman of the National Assembly Nguyễn Thị Kim Ngân was elected as head of the legislature at the National Election Council on March 31st with a majority of votes.
In the secret ballot, 472 out of 481 valid votes approved Ngân for the position of National Assembly Chairwoman, while 467 among 477 valid votes supported her as head of the National Election Council. The legislature then adopted a resolution on the election of the National Assembly Chairwoman and the National Election Council head with 100% of approval votes. In the swearing-in ceremony, the newly elected chairwoman pledged absolute loyalty to the fatherland, people, and constitution of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. She also promised to exert efforts to well fulfill the tasks assigned by the party, state, and people. In the afternoon session, the National Assembly agreed to relieve Trương Tấn Sang of the presidency through secret ballot. Among the 473 valid votes, 447 or 90.49% of the total national deputies agreed to let him leave office. Meanwhile, 458 of the 459 lawmakers casting votes approved a resolution dismissing him from the state leader position. The resolution is valid after a new president is elected.
Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Ming held talks with U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry in Washington, D.C. on March 31st to discuss measures to strengthen the two countries' comprehensive partnership and prepare for President Barack Obama's visit to Vietnam.
Ming, who is in the U.S. to attend the 4th Nuclear Security Summit, affirmed that Vietnam attaches significance to its all-round cooperation with the U.S. He stated that the Vietnamese leaders and people welcome the upcoming visit to Vietnam by President Obama. Kerry said he hopes the two countries will step up collaboration to deepen the bilateral comprehensive partnership in strategic areas, including trade, investment, education, climate change response, and science and technology. He said the U.S. will continue efforts to support Vietnam in addressing war consequences, particularly detoxifying dioxin-contaminated areas, and in improving the capacity of law enforcement and marine police forces. The U.S. will continue efforts to accelerate recognition of Vietnam as a market economy and provide technical assistance for the nation during its implementation of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. At the talks, the two sides also exchanged opinions on the regional and international situations, including the East Sea issue. The U.S. affirmed that it backs efforts to ensure maritime security and safety, and that disputes should be handled through legal processes and by peaceful means.
Deputy Foreign Ministry spokesperson Phạm Thu Hằng has said unilateral actions taken in the waters of the mouth of the Tonkin Gulf should be avoided as the delineation of the area is being negotiated by Vietnam and China.
Hằng made the statement in reply to reporters' queries on Vietnam's reaction to China sending its oil during rig Haiyang Shuyao 943 to operate in the waters of the Tonkin Gulf at the Foreign Ministry's regular press conference in Hanoi on March 31st. According to China's announcement, the area where the rig is operating belongs to the waters of the mouth of the Tonkin Gulf, whose delineation is under negotiation between Vietnam and China. Parties concerned should, therefore, undertake no unilateral activities that complicate the situation and have detrimental effects on the negotiation and delineation in the area, the diplomat stressed.
The Ministry of Health had raised the warning level for Zika virus to level 2, while confirming that no Zika virus infection case has been reported in Vietnam to date.
According to the Preventive Medicine Department under the Ministry of Health, a total of 784 samples have been taken from 32 provinces and cities nationwide for testing, and all have given negative results. Though no infection case has been recorded, the health sector has taken a range of preventive measures against the worrisome virus. Deploying insecticide sprayers and rooting out mosquitoes' breeding places at homes are among the measures. However, the Ministry of Health has decided to raise the warning level for the virus to level 2 because of the high risk of Zika virus outbreaks in the country. On March 20th, the ministry was informed about an Australian visitor testing positive for the mosquito-borne virus after returning from Vietnam. However, this case has not been confirmed to contain the virus in the country. Provinces and cities across the country are bracing to cope with the epidemic. But experts warn that it's very difficult to detect infected cases, as up to 80% of them have no clinical signs.
Vietnam's Provincial Competitiveness Index 2015 report was released in Hanoi on March 31st. With 68.34 points, the central city of Da Nang continued to top the list for a third consecutive year.
This is also the 6th time the central city has led the country since the PCI was announced. Da Nang was followed by the Mekong Delta province of Đồng Tháp and the northern province of Quảng Ninh. These provinces have been consistently high performers in the PCI and also demonstrated unique innovations in streamlining local regulatory practices and enhancing the transparent evaluation of personnel involved with the local business sector. According to surveyed domestic businesses, they face difficulties in accessing capital, land, and quality business services at reasonable prices. Meanwhile, surveyed foreign direct investment enterprises gave positive comments on Vietnam's competitiveness in terms of political stability. However, they said the country's business environment is still less attractive due to regulatory burdens, quality of public services, and infrastructure. The PCI was launched by the Vietnam Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the U.S. Agency for International Development.
The State Bank of Vietnam begins to tighten lending in foreign currencies in some cases from March 31st in an effort to step up its anti-dollarization drive. More details in the following report.
Under the newly issued circular, commercial banks will no longer be allowed to provide lending in foreign currencies to exporters who do not need it for offshore payments. Short-term loans in foreign currencies to meet the short-term capital needs for the export of goods via Vietnam's border gates will also be prohibited. However, foreign currency lending will still be available as long, medium, and short-term loans for offshore payments when importing goods and services, provided that the borrowers have sufficient foreign currency revenue from their production or business activities to repay these loans. Besides short-term loans to lending petroleum import enterprises, commercial banks will also still be allowed to provide loans for overseas investment in key national projects and programs that the National Assembly, the government, or the Prime Minister has approved, and for which the Ministry of Planning and Investment has granted overseas investment certificates. Experts said the tightening of the lending policy would have a negative impact on firms, but it was a necessity for the central bank's agenda to promote anti-dollarization in the economy.
Experts have warned that Vietnamese cement companies will face stiffer competition both at home and abroad in the future. More in the following report.
According to the Ministry of Construction, the current total capacity of all cement factories in Vietnam is 81.5 million tons per year. This year, the local market is expected to consume between 75 million tons and 76 million tons of cement. which is 3 million tons higher as compared to last year's figure. Therefore, the domestic cement producers would face oversupply, and that situation has forced the producers to seek solutions on selling more cement in markets at home and abroad. The pressure increased after Vietnam joined the ASEAN Economic Community. Vietnam has the largest cement industry in ASEAN. Vietnam's cement producers would also be competing with Chinese firms because total cement output of China reaches 607 million tons after a period of strong development in China's cement industry. Chinese cement factories could promote exports in the future. Therefore, if not exporting cement, many local enterprises could produce in moderation or even contemporary stop production.
A German magazine specializing in climate change and energy transition has recently run an article saying Vietnam is planning a drastic turnaround in energy policy, focusing on renewable energy.
Climaretor.info noted that from now to 2020, Vietnam will raise solar power capacity to 850 megawatts and increase wind power capacity to at least 800 megawatts. Currently, the share of the two power sources play no significant role in Vietnam, where more than 93% of the electricity output is produced from fossil and hydropower sources. However, the average solar radiation to produce electricity in Vietnam is about 4 times as large as in Germany. The article also noted that Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng has recently launched a plan on developing a national grid, which is set to revolutionize the energy policy. Vietnam is one of the new tigers in Asia, with high rate of annual economic growth, the article said. As in industrialized countries, economic growth brings about an increase of energy consumption. The annual energy production has increased more than tenfold from 1990 to 2014. Accordingly, the greenhouse exhaust fumes per capita in Vietnam have risen to an average of 1.7 tons of CO2 per year. By comparison, the figure in Germany is 9.5 tons.
Two child-friendly libraries have come into operation in Dong Hội and Tam Sa preschools in suburban Đông Anh district of Hanoi.
The libraries were built under a project initiated by the United Nations Children's Fund in Vietnam and funded by the Samsung Corporation.
It allows the children to build their social skills and their capacities at the early ages that will enable them to be more effective in their learning.
With different corners for reading, learning about culture, science and arts, and play, the model aims to enhance communication and situation settlement skills for kids. Additionally, it also helps improve the caring and educational ability of teachers and parents, and increases links between schools and families. The model is expected to be expanded to other localities in the future.
Gold books and other royal gold objects of the Nguyen dynasty are displayed in Hanoi. Let's take a look.
Along with a dozen royal objects, the museum puts on show 22 out-of-base collection of 94 gold books of the 13 Nguyen kings, who reigned from 1802 to 1945. The books made of such precious metals as gold or silver were used to record significant royal events and rituals, such as coronation, enthronement, among others. They were compiled by the kings or high-level courtiers themselves. The show will last until August at the Vietnam National Museum of History.
And that has come to an end of our bulletin. Thank you for joining us and see you next time.